Most people think power comes from loud voices and threats. But real power is quiet. And that's something Karen Blake was about to learn the hard way. My name is Ethan Cole, and that cabin you see behind me is not just my home, it's my peace. Far from the city, far from noise, just trees, fresh air, and silence. At least it used to be. That morning started like any other. I was standing outside with my coffee, my dog sitting next to me just enjoying the calm. And then I saw her, Karen, walking straight toward me like she owned the ground she stepped on. She didn't greet me, didn't ask a question. She pointed straight at me and said I was trespassing. On my own land. I almost laughed, but I held it in because something told me this wasn't going to end quickly. I told her calmly that this property was mine and she had no authority here. But Karen wasn't interested in facts. She started talking about HOA rules, boundaries, community standards. All the usual things people say when they think rules apply everywhere. I explained to her clearly that this land was outside HOA jurisdiction, that it had never been part of their community. But she didn't listen. Instead, she pulled out her phone and made a call. Right there in front of me. She told someone on the line that she needed police because a man was refusing to leave private property. Her words, not mine. I just stood there watching it happen. Because sometimes the best move is to let people prove themselves wrong. About 15 minutes later, I heard sirens. Multiple cars. Not just one. Karen stood there with a satisfied look like she had just won something. The police cars rolled in one after another, dust rising behind them. Officers stepped out looking serious, scanning the area. Karen rushed toward them, pointing at me like I was some kind of criminal. She told them I was trespassing, refusing to leave, and being difficult. One officer walked over to me. Calm professional, just doing his job. He asked me what was going on. I told him exactly what I told Karen. This was my property. I had every right to be here. He looked around at the cabin, the land, the signs. You could tell he was already unsure about Karen's story. But he still had to check. Meanwhile, Karen kept talking louder, trying to control the situation. But the more she spoke, the less confident she sounded. The officer asked me if I had any identification. I nodded and reached into my pocket slowly. No rush, no stress. Because I knew something Karen didn't. I handed him my ID. And the moment he looked at it, everything changed. His posture straightened. His expression shifted. He looked at me, then back at the ID like he needed to confirm what he was seeing. Then he spoke a little more carefully, addressing me with respect. That's when Karen realized something wasn't going her way. She stepped closer, trying to see what was happening. The officer quietly spoke to his partner and showed him the ID. Within seconds, the tone of the entire scene changed. Because the name on that card wasn't just a name. It was a position, a federal judge. The same kind of person Karen thought she could intimidate with HOA rules. Suddenly, the woman who was shouting moments ago was completely silent. She asked what was going on, but no one rushed to answer her. The officers turned their attention back to her, this time asking questions instead of taking instructions. They asked her why she believed this property belonged to the HOA, why she made the call, why she insisted on an arrest. And for the first time, Karen didn't have quick answers. She stumbled over her words, trying to explain, trying to justify something that made less sense by the second. I stayed where I was calm as ever, watching the situation correct itself. The officer finally told her clearly, this property is privately owned. You have no authority here. And making false claims like this is a serious matter. Karen's face changed completely, from anger to confusion, from confidence to panic. She tried to say it was a misunderstanding, that she thought she was doing the right thing. But it was too late for that. The situation had already spoken for itself. One of the officers even mentioned how unnecessary the entire call was, how resources were wasted, how things could have been handled differently. Karen stood there quiet. No more shouting, no more pointing, just silence. Eventually, the officers wrapped things up. No one was being arrested, at least not the person Karen expected. They gave her a final warning and started heading back to their cars. The same cars she called in with so much confidence, now leaving with nothing accomplished. As for me, I thanked the officers for their time, simple and respectful. Then I turned and walked back toward my cabin, my dog right beside me like nothing had happened. Because for me, nothing really had. Just another reminder that not everyone who makes noise has power, and not everyone who stays quiet is weak. Karen learned that lesson that day, standing in my yard, calling the cops on the wrong person. Like, thumbs up, sign, subscribe bell, and comment.